Hello everyone, Brenda here. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to this video. Today is Mindful Monday. And on Mindful Mondays, we take some time for ourselves to just stop and bring ourselves into the now, into this moment. We're not going to be concerned about what happened in the past. We're not looking forward or worrying about what's coming. We are only going to focus our attention on one stroke at a time, one step at a time through the Zentangle method of drawing. So let's go right ahead and jump into step 1, gratitude and appreciation. Now, in this step, I'm going to take you through a short breathing exercise, and we are just going to relax into the moment by taking 3 deep breaths, beginning with 1 big inhale, full, and then relax and release on the exhale. 1 more big breath in and out, and just relax. Third big breath in and out. And now just let your breath fall into its natural breathing rhythm and follow it as you breathe in and out. You'll notice thoughts popping in. That's just your mind doing what it does. Acknowledge any thoughts that come in and then just let them go. Like a cloud floating through the sky. And focus back onto the breath. Now I'd like you to take a moment and think of something that you are grateful for. It can be anything, big or small. Just grab onto the first thing that pops into your mind, makes you smile. And hold on to it for a moment and feel into it. What does it feel like? How does gratitude feel? And breathe and relax. Now remember this feeling as we are practicing today. And if you reach a point where you get a little flustered, that's okay. Stop yourself. Take a couple of deep breaths in and out. And then start again. It's okay. You can do this anytime, not just while you're drawing. I find it helpful. Okay, let's do one more final big breath in and out. That's all there is for step 1. Now I feel better. I hope you do as well. Now before we begin, Bijou, our little Zentangle mascot, and I would like to remind you to enjoy this time today that you are making for yourself. And I want to also let you know we are going to be drawing. I'm going to use a 3.5 inch Zentangle square tile, a white one. But if you don't have one of those, just any piece of paper. You can even draw a 3.5-inch square, or you can cut it smaller to 3.5 inches. We just don't want too much to have to draw on. The next thing we're going to need is a pen. I will be using a Sakura Micron PN pen. The PN stands for plastic nib, and that just means it's a little sturdier and it won't break as easily under my heavy hand. It has a thicker line, so if you prefer a thinner line, you can use a Sakura Micron 01 pen. And so whatever pen you have is fine. Just use what you have. I'm also going to use a pencil for shading and a tortillon to blend it out. And you can use any pencil, and you could even use your finger if you don't have something to blend with. So now we're going to move on to step 2. And step 2 is to put a dot in each corner of our square tile. You can put it as close or as far away from the corners as you like. And then step 3 is to connect the dots to create a border. And I turn my tile as I do that, so I have a more consistent line. Step 4 is our string. Now today's string is going to kind of be a spiral inward, so you can start any side, spiral inward, and then straight out. So instead of circling in, I'm drawing a line out. And that is our string. Now the string is intended just to separate the space on your tile so that you have a place to put your patterns or your tangles. So I am going to go ahead and begin with the tangle flux. That is what we're going to use for step 1. And flux is an organic pattern. It can look like a leaf or a petal if you wanted to. Flux can also be drawn a couple different ways, but I always draw my flux with kind of a teardrop shape that comes in to a point. And then I build on that. Now I'm trying to fill the space on my string with this flux, so I'm even able to shape it to accommodate the space. And it's like this little teardrop petal type shape. Basically just comes around from this one single line. They're all coming off of, say they're on a vine or something. And I'm kind of keeping it inside my border if I can. Okay, now that's the first step for the tangle flux. And I am going to fill in some of these spaces between these little leafy or petal shapes with really tiny orbs or circles. And because I did not fill all of this in, maybe I'll do, no, I guess I'm just going to put tipple or more orbs in this corner space. Okay, so now I've got my tipple in my in-between spaces, and I'm going to kind of decorate out my flux by drawing a line to the center. And I kind of make this line help define the shape of the petal. Okay, and the last little detail I like to add is just a dot at the end of that line. Okay, now I think I'm finished with my flux. So I'm moving on to the next tangle, and that tangle is senna. Now senna usually starts with a little smile line. I'm going to use this little smile line here to start my pattern, and I'll probably bring it all the way around. So I'm going to start, actually I'm going to start here just because I want to give it some interest. And I start at the line, and then I kind of make this kind of an S type shape. And then I just repeat that shape. By giving it that curl, it almost gives it some dimension. And you may notice that sometimes I start at the line, and then my next one is just another spot on the line. But then sometimes I like to bring it up and connect it. You can also notice now that my lines are getting closer together here. And there's no secret formula. There's no magic to this. So you can draw them as close together, as far apart as you want. Let's see. I guess we're just going to keep going with this shape. I have a hard time getting comfortable. All these lines around this curve are kind of coming from the same spot. Remember to breathe. And if your lines are not going where you want, like some of mine were getting a little crazy there, just stop yourself, take a breath, get focused again, and then go back to it. And only worry about that line you're drawing right now. I don't know if this bothers me or not, but I'm going to leave it alone for now. Okay, so we have this spot in the center, and I'm not sure how I should approach that, but I think, I don't know, maybe I'll just go back to basics and do some crescent moon. Okay, so these are my crescent moon shapes. My little half circles or half moons. These are small. They actually kind of look almost like a crescent. Oftentimes I draw my shapes too large. And I say too large, but there's not too anything. There's no mistakes. Sometimes I like to draw my tangles large. Remember, with crescent moon, we start with these ladybug, half moon, crescent moon shapes. They're called, we call them lots of different things. I do kind of like the ladybug shape. Okay, so once they're all filled in with solid black, then we're going to aura each one. And then we can do it another time. And this time, if we need to, we can just stop and spiral inward with that negative shape between them. And that's not very complicated, but we're done with step 5, our tangles. We've done 3 tangles, flux, well 4 if you count tipple, flux and tipple, senna, and crescent moon. So now we're moving on to step 6, which is the shading. Now I'm going to start the shading with flux, as that's what we began with. And I'm going to begin by adding some graphite right on this line that they all kind of come from. kind of our spiral line as we began. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my tortillon, and I'm going to start blending this. And as I do that, I'm also kind of pulling it in and around that center. Now I'm just kind of adding a little to the edges. Okay, so that is the shading on my flux. Now I'm adding, I'm not adding any more graphite. I'm just using what's on my tortillon, and I'm drawing these little smiles in the corners of these larger tipple. And that's all I'm going to do, and that kind of gives those guys a little bit of dimension. Now these little tiny ones, I'm going to go back after we're done with all of our graphite, and I'm going to make those little black orbs, so I'm not going to worry about any shading on that right now. So I'm going to pick my pencil back up, and I'm going to work on shading senna at this time. And I am going to bring a pretty good amount of graphite. I'm going to lay down underneath or around the crescent moon. So the very edge of my senna pattern is going to have all this graphite. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the outside. Okay, now I'll get my tortillon back out, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull this into my senna pattern. I'm trying to keep the most of it, the darkest of it, close to the edge. I'm doing the same thing with this inside line of graphite. Now it should make this senna pattern kind of look rounded, like a little bit of dimension, roundedness to it. And now I'm just going to kind of soften up that graphite line a little bit. Again, not really messing with too much close to the edge because I want to keep that darker. Now that seems like it needed a little more. Almost just was a turn there. Okay, I think that's pretty good for Senna. But this is kind of bothering me a little bit, this openness, and the rest of it's all closed off. So I'm going to go ahead and just give it an edge. And then this is like a little fold here where it would be darker. So I'm going to add a little bit more graphite to that. Shading is always best done in layers. And I have a heavy hand at shading, so I have to be cautious that I'm not adding way too much graphite. But this looked like it could use a little bit more. I guess I'm going to close this side off too. Okay, now I'm not really sure the best way is going to be to do crescent moon, but I'm going to add a fairly heavy layer of graphite in between my crescent moon shapes, and then I'm just going to blend that out and see how that looks. And I think that looks pretty good. I think it makes it look like that crescent moon is way down underneath. It's tucking underneath the Senna. Okay, I kind of like that. Okay, now another thing you can do to enhance your shading is you can go back in and redraw your black lines, and that kind of adds even more depth. And if you got any black, or excuse me, if you got any graphite on your black, you can go back over and make that darker. There, so that really did help give it a lot more depth. Now this seems to kind of get lost to me a little bit too. So I added some there, and then down here also seems a little bit lost. Okay, but that just outlining that flux there seems to help. Okay, I'm going to stop messing with the lines, but I think I did pretty good enhancing that graphite for the shading. And all we're really doing here with our shading is adding contrast. So now I said I was going to go back in, and I am just darkening these little white tipple or orbs that I put kind of in between, making them look more like black orbs, just to give us a little bit more contrast. Now down here in the corner, they're not all going to be black, because remember I did add some shading. Some graphite to the larger orbs. That's okay. I like that it's adding some extra contrast here, so. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Maybe I'll put one there. Another one here. Okay, I think we're good with our tangles. We've got our shading completed, and now we're moving on to step 7, which is to initial and sign. Now, my initial is a chop, which is kind of a stylized version of my initials. I don't know if there looks to be an up or a down to this particular tile or not, but I'm going to go ahead and say that this is my up. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe because the flecks are looking like they're going up. And I'm just going to put my chop over here on the side. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to sign it. And I will date it off camera. I'm going to name our tangles. So we started with flux, and then we did senna, and then we did crescent moon. And you can also put any notes on the back if you want. I'm going to say that I created this for my Mindful Monday 60. Ooh, 60 already. So that is step 7, initial and sign. Now step 8 is simply to step back and take a look at what you've done and appreciate it. Appreciate all the time that you took for yourself. Appreciate your piece. Even though we don't do it for the art, sometimes it's nice to have it at the end of the process. So this is kind of a goofy shaped senna in my center, but that's okay, I don't mind it. Remember, there are no mistakes. I hope you enjoyed drawing along with me, and if you're still here, especially if you're still watching, thank you so very much. And remember, I do like to see what you draw, so if you do share on social, just let me know or tag me, Angel Whispers Art or Brenda Campbell. Either way, I'll find it. And so that's all there is for this tile today. Until next time, be you and be happy.